Welcome into another edition of The Session with Londa and David. My name is David Austin.
Indeed it is. I'm Londa Sherwood Austin. Welcome back.
I think you look super cute today because you're wearing this kind of cool desert or city camouflage, urban camo. That's what that's called. And you've got kind of an olive-colored pant on. I like it. I think it's a good look.
Well, thank you.
You look kind of like a college co-ed.
Okay, I'm not sure how I feel about that, but whatever. I'm dressed. I put clothes on today, and you're welcome.
We're going to have a fun show. I'm sure you're going to want to tell us all about Taylor Swift being named Times Person of the Year during this program.
Okay, sure.
It did not help the Kansas City Chiefs win Sunday Night Football, though. That was an ugly ending to that game. But she and Travis Kelce left the stadium together holding hands.
I like how you're saying it to me like I didn't already see 87 TikToks about it. Do you see how I said 87 TikToks?
Is that the name of one of her albums?
Oh, Lord Jesus. People, if you're a praying person, pray for me, y'all. 87. It's Travis Kelce's number.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
God.
I think that's great.
I could have said 13 TikToks about it.
You could have.
You wouldn't get that either.
No.
That's it. I'm out of here.
Is that the name of an album?
Move on.
It's time for news. University of Pennsylvania President Liz Magill steps down after a flurry of criticism surrounding her handling of questions about alleged anti-Semitism on college campuses. Magill was one of 3 university presidents to testify before Congress last week. All 3 were heavily criticized for not drawing a clear line in the sand over what is and what is not protected and appropriate speech on campus. Meanwhile, Harvard President Claudine Gay has herself been under scrutiny since testifying, but more than 700 faculty members have signed a petition urging school officials not to ask for her resignation. So they're supporting her at Harvard.
I will save my comments for when you're finished, but we are definitely going to circle back to that.
The Christmas shopping season is well underway, and one of the most well-known retailers in the nation gets a $5.8 billion buyout offer. Macy's, a 165-year-old retailer and host of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in New York City, reportedly received the offer on December 1st. The investor group, comprised of Ark House Management and Brigade Capital Management, say they'll pay $21 a share to take the company private. They already have a large ownership stake, and they want to buy out the rest of the shares.
I wonder why that is.
Well, here's what some are saying. Forbes and Money Watch both reported that they think it's about the value of the real estate. And both of these companies are real estate investment companies. So I think they're more interested in the worth of the property than the actual retail business. That's what people are saying. I have not done the research. SpaceX preps for a Monday launch to deliver what's been called an unmanned space plane into orbit for a top secret Space Force mission. I wish I was making this up because it sounds crazy. The launch was planned for Sunday, but inclement weather across the nation forced a 24-hour delay. The targeted liftoff is set for 8:15 Eastern Standard Time Monday. The Boeing-built X-37 space plane operates and resembles the space shuttle.
Ooh.
It can be in space for a long time, though, because it's got a large solar wing.
Is SpaceX Jeff Bezos' thing?
Nope.
Or is it the other guy?
It's the other guy, Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. Oh.
Yeah, the other one's Blue Origin. We've seen both of their buildings in Florida. The nominees for the 81st Annual Golden Globe Awards were unveiled Monday morning, marking the official kickoff to Hollywood's 2024 awards season. Barbenheimer, big awards coming their way. The Barbie movie's nominated for 9 Golden Globes.
Still haven't seen it.
And Oppenheimer's nominated for 8. I liked Oppenheimer. I didn't love Oppenheimer. How about you?
Meh.
The final season of Succession led with 9 television nominations. The Golden Globes will be televised live on CBS Sunday, January 7th. And that's what's happening.
All right. Awesome. Let's circle back to the first story, please.
Okay. Yeah. Free speech on campus.
Okay. I can't be the only person who is very confused by this whole situation.
Right.
Confusion number 1. Why none of the 3 of them said something to the effect of, yeah, of course we don't condone violence toward people or, hate of another person. However, college campus, university is where you explore thought and ideas.
Sure.
And so, we walk the delicate line or we try to manage the push-pull tension of exploring thought and ideas and, not being a terrorist. I mean, I don't know why the answers weren't clearer. It's like they were scared to say anything.
I have an opinion.
Get it.
I saw a little bit of the testimony before Congress, and that congresswoman that had kind of a straw man argument that was trying to get them to say anybody who says anything anti-Semitic is calling for the genocide of all the Jews. That's kind of how the questions were asked.
Yeah, they were crazy.
The simple fact is the reason they answered the way they did is because they were debaters. They weren't there as public service representatives. They were there as members of the scholastic world.
But it kind of listening to it made you kind of think like, what are you doing?
It's a liberal arts education.
Yeah.
You need to expect the people who are in charge of it to have pretty liberal ideas.
Yeah, but not be void of logic.
Well, they weren't devoid of logic. I thought I thought their argument made a lot of sense. No.
I thought they said a lot without saying anything.
Well, here's what they did. They said, we, of course, don't condone violence. However, free speech is protected by the First Amendment, and college is where you have free speech. I got news for you.
I didn't think any of the answers were as clear as what you just said.
Okay, you're right. Because that lady congressperson kept interrupting. And she has since tweeted 1 down and 2 to go for the college people getting thrown out of school.
I mean, is that the goal? Was that the goal of her? Was that her goal?
That was her goal, yes.
Like, what?
As evidenced by her behavior during and after that event. So here's the deal. Is anyone anywhere actually calling for the genocide of Jews? I haven't heard that. I don't run in college circles, but I haven't heard that. Hamas wants to beat Israel. Everybody wants to support Israel because we helped create that nation in 1947 or whatever it was, 1949. I don't know. But this is a conversation that doesn't mean if you are anti-war, you're pro-extermination of Jews. And that's a false argument that has been propped up all over the place. Now, if you're Jewish or have Jewish friends or have ever known anybody who's Jewish, of course, you don't want those people harmed, right?
I don't wish anyone harm.
Well, that's true, but I'm trying to make it really simple.
Okay, all right.
If you don't want Jewish people harmed, you do not agree with the genocide of the Jews. Allowing your students to protest a war in a foreign country does not mean you agree with the genocide of Jews.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Why kids are taking the stance that the Palestinian Hamas group needs to be left alone, I don't know. War is terrible. War over land, awful. Who likes it? Are hands going up anywhere? I don't think anybody likes it.
I don't see any here in the studio.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dismissing the people in Gaza, the Hamas fighters, as terrorists, I think is as inappropriate as labeling people who aren't for the war genocidal racists. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
I think they're both unfair arguments. It's not my fight. I don't have a lot invested in it. The end. That's how I feel about that.
Yeah.
No one wants anybody to be hurt on purpose, and for sure no one wants anybody to be hurt over real estate.
I'm concerned when there is stifling of thought.
Absolutely.
And conversation.
Well, and
you see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And when you start to talk about the First Amendment, you have to be in full agreement that speech that you find detestable is okay.
Right.
And if you're not, you don't support the First Amendment.
That's the thing. If freedom of speech is important to you, it has to be freedom of all speech. We don't pick and choose.
Correct.
So I was just talking with someone about this earlier today, and we were talking about the finances of a business. And I'm like, okay, but do you see how these two things are in conflict? Because the principle, you say you do this here with this expense based on this principle. Mm-hmm. But if that's the principle, it has to be applied to all the expenses.
Correct.
But over here, you see how you have this one where you're not applying this principle?
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like, it's the same thing. If I believe in free speech, and I do, then I am going to have to also support somebody's freedom to spew hate speech. Yet say whatever you want to say. I just won't interact with that person. This happened today. Someone came into my office earlier today, and almost immediately what started coming out of their mouth was just unpleasant to me. Unpleasant attitude, unpleasant interaction. I just turned around and walked away. Went into my office, shut the door.
Yeah.
I say what you want to say. I don't have to listen to it.
Right. Here's the thing. Here's what this principle in Congress is really based on, right? Students feeling insecure. Well, I got news for you. Speech shouldn't make you feel insecure. Danger should make you feel insecure. And speech isn't inherently dangerous, right? My feelings are unimportant. Someone shouting a contrary opinion, holding a poster, should not make me feel afraid. And just because I feel afraid doesn't mean I should have sovereignty over all of the situation. You can't do that. It makes me uncomfortable.
Now you're getting into deep waters.
That's the thing about freedom of speech.
Right.
When I drive down the street and see posters of fetuses in front of Planned Parenthood, that makes me wildly uncomfortable. I don't care for that. The imagery, any of that, I feel very uncomfortable about. But
Boy, we're getting into it, aren't we?
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm not scared.
I can't drive my car into that crowd because those pictures make me feel uncomfortable.
Right.
Do you see what I mean?
How are
you? So
you?
why are we telling college presidents that they've got to step down because people are protesting a war in another country? And why are we labeling that as racist propaganda? I don't understand it.
How are we ever supposed to think differently or have our thoughts expanded if we don't hear things that make us uncomfortable?
Right.
That's my question. And this is something that I have told our younger children that, with their smartphones, right? Mm-hmm. Be very careful that you don't curate your world to be so comfortable and so one-sided. Like everything on your social media should not be things you agree with.
Right.
I feel that very, very strongly. And I've talked about it a lot to our younger kids because their whole life is their phone.
Sure.
Right. But I say it to all kinds of people. Like I follow people that make me very uncomfortable, that I don't agree with politically or whatever. Right. And it's so that I'm challenged. And it's not that I want my thoughts and ideas challenged so much as it is, I want to know why I think what I think.
I gotcha.
Right? Mm-hmm. And if I see something that I disagree with, it makes me have to sit back and say, okay, I don't agree with that, but why don't I agree with it? What part of it do I not agree with?
Right.
And what is it that I do believe or agree with, or what? You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like, I just think when we curate our information, when we curate our information so that it never makes us uncomfortable at all, that's kind of weird, right?
Sure.
Like, design your whole life so that you're never uncomfortable. Ugh.
Let me tell you this. If you design your life so that you're never uncomfortable, I wish you all the best. And I probably won't come see you because I often am rambunctious and loud and ebullient, and that may make you uncomfortable.
Right.
You see what I mean?
I know. I mean, just let people be who they are and what they are. And I was just telling one of our kids the other day, we were talking about parenting styles, you know, and the difference between this kid and their siblings and how everybody parents.
Right.
And it wasn't a judgmental conversation. It was just interesting.
Right.
Hey, look at this. This is blue and this is red. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wonder why that's blue and that's red. It was that kind of tone.
It's your rods and cones.
Yeah. Like it was no big. It wasn't judgy, is what I'm trying to get at.
Sure.
And I said, my philosophy as a grandparent is, hey, whatever you, my kid, decide, however you decide to parent your child, my job as a grandparent is to be supportive of your choices.
I like that.
That's what I think my job is. Now, if I think somebody is being harmed, okay, I might speak up. Oh, well, I would. If somebody was being hurt, that I thought it was dangerous, I would speak up. However, by and large, I keep my opinions to myself.
Right.
Unless I'm asked directly for advice from one of the kids.
Sure.
My job is to be supportive of their decisions.
I gotcha.
Whatever you want to do, I'm here to be supportive, right? So I don't know why I'm sharing that, except that I think the world might be a little more pleasant place if we all just decided to do that.
Well,
hey, live your life, do your thing. Let's have interesting conversation. This college thing, what was it? Was it an interview, a panel?
It was a congressional subcommittee about...
Okay, congressional hearing?
Yep.
Okay. This congressional hearing, I just think it's so sad because there was no understanding. There was no trying to understand the other point of view or any point of view.
Well, here's the thing. No point of view made any sense in that at all.
Right. And when stay away from our house, because when we have people over, the kids over or whatever, we often get into discussions that get, a little wild.
Right.
Because I'm trying to learn about them. I'm trying to learn how their brain works and why they believe what they believe or think what they think, and I'm going to ask a lot of questions to find out more information.
Sure.
But it's because I'm seeking understanding.
Yeah.
It's no different than when I'm working with a client and I'm trying to understand what's behind what they're saying, what's motivating what they're saying.
Sure.
And why are they feeling like that, and why, Yeah.
I think this whole deal about Israel and Gaza and Hamas and the poor Palestinians that are forced down to the southern border there at Rafah, who are
awful,
who are now going through terrible situations, right?
Yes.
They're running out of food.
Yeah.
People are fighting. There's missiles flying overhead now.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
It's all awful, regardless of whatever political affiliation you identify with.
Right.
Any of it is terrible.
Sure.
Of course, October 6th, was it the 6th or the 7th, where the Hamas militants came over the fence and killed over 1,000 people.
I don't remember.
Whichever one, October 6th or 7th, whichever it was, awful, detestable, horrible, not acceptable. Killing people's bad. Kidnapping people's bad.
Right.
It doesn't justify any kind of response, in my opinion, like we're seeing. I don't think wars make any sense at all.
Right.
Especially over real estate. It's crazy. It's the Hatfields and the McCoys. Now, you can say, well, Israel was a Jewish state 2,000 years ago. Great. And you can say, well, Palestinians ruled the area until, after World War II, when the UN came together and said, we need to give Jews a safe space to live. Well, I got news for you. Whoever was there now feels disenfranchised, right? None of it justifies war, though.
Right.
None of it to me. None of it. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
So kids feeling confused and picking a side that they learned about from their TikTok or their Instagram does not mean they hate the Jews and call for mass extinction.
Right.
It also does not mean, if you support Israel, that you are anti-Palestinian.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So my recommendation is be kind. If you're kind, everything's okay.
Right.
And if you're not able to protest on college campuses, stuff you don't agree with, I don't know where it's appropriate.
Yeah.
Because that's where you learn how to be a grown-up.
Right.
College.
Right. Right.
And that's my whole thought on that matter.
Okay, speaking of TikTok, what's the chick's name? Nikki Haley?
Nikki Haley. She's a chick.
Oh, my God.
Running for president.
What's wrong with her?
She's lost 3 points in the last week after the Republican debate. 3 points in Iowa.
So, listen, I don't care about this stuff at all, but David makes me watch it.
I like it.
Yeah, you don't make me, but it's on, right? I'm going to see it. So
Sure.
We watch the debates. Oh, my God. What's wrong with her? She sounds crazy.
Well,
and listen, I'm sorry, if you really like her, then definitely reach out to me and show me some other resources that might give me more information, because she sounded crazy to me. She sounded crazy.
She, over the weekend, was interviewed and asked about abortion rights, and actually said something that sounded like it made a little bit of sense to me.
Okay.
She said, I don't want to be mad at someone because they're pro-choice, just like I don't want someone to be mad at me just because I'm pro-life. And I think that's an interesting point of view coming from a lady who seemed super, super, super far right in the last presidential debate.
Yeah. I love what, was it Chris Christie that said, we're not pro-life for the whole life.
Right.
Oh, and I know a lot of you saw that as well. And it was like, oh my gosh, you're right.
He surged in the polls after that and went from 3% to 5%.
Well, whatever. I think that's a really important part of, if you are pro-life, you best be pro-life for the whole life.
Well, I definitely agree with that, right?
It's not just, I remember being in church years ago, being in church leadership. And of course, I'm far from that life now. But I remember sitting in a meeting and saying, and they're talking about, supporting it used to be called Crisis Pregnancy Center. I think they have a different name now. Like here, it's called U Medical. And it's just a faith-based, pregnancy support kind of place, right? Where they talk you out of getting an abortion and provide services and whatnot.
Sure.
So, and they're talking about supporting this place. And I said, well, okay, cool. But also, who support? So this organization, they talk these women into keeping their babies. Don't get an abortion, keep your baby.
Right.
And then what? What do you mean, and then what? Well, okay, then they have the baby, and then who teaches them how to take care of the baby, and who provides for the baby?
Right.
And who...
We're not willing to discuss that with you, Londa, because that would take some planning and money that we haven't invested in this argument.
But that was my question.
I know.
Who teaches this person how to do all this? Like, I mean, I've got daughters who have children.
Sure.
And they grew up in a house where we did all that stuff. They learned all that stuff when they were little, right? Because there's lots of them. And then they babysat, and they had lots of experience. And when they had babies, they still needed help.
Right.
I can't imagine somebody who's talked into keeping a baby. They thought they didn't know if they wanted or not. And now they got to figure out, and it doesn't go away.
Right. Okay, so now that we're talking about abortion,
I'm sorry.
I didn't cover the story about the Texas mother.
But I want to.
Well, let's talk a little bit about it. I don't have any notes in front of me. I don't know her name. I know there's a lady who's 20 weeks pregnant who is suing the state of Texas to get an abortion because her medical provider says the baby will not survive. She has an amniotic fluid leak. Mm-hmm. She's desperate, according to reports, to have children traditionally, and her doctors have said to her, if you don't abort this certain to die fetus, this will go far enough that you may destroy your reproductive health forever,
right,
and never be able to have a kid.
She's been to the emergency room four times in the last month.
Yes,
because of different issues, including fluid leak, and that's a big deal when you're leaking amniotic fluid at 20 weeks. That's a bad scene.
Yes. As of Monday, that case has, they filed saying she is in fact leaving the state to have an abortion, but she wants her case to continue because she thinks it's wrong.
Right.
The loophole that Texas is saying, because they do have health of the mother exclusions from this anti-abortion bill in Texas, right? Well, the thing is, the reason she was turned down is because her reproductive health is not her life health. And so what they're saying is, well, this doesn't threaten the health of the mother. It threatens the health of future generations, maybe, but not the mother. So we don't need to do anything.
So listen, I want to be clear. Again, being open to thought.
Sure.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever your belief is, I'm here to support you.
Sure. Yeah.
I want to be clear about that. Nobody is super excited about abortion.
Correct.
Nobody.
Pro-choice people aren't thinking, man, I hope I get pregnant so I can terminate it.
Right?
No one thinks that way.
Nobody does. Come on. But this is an unbelievable case to me.
The mother is
crazy,
horrified. The doctors have said to her there is zero likelihood that this child can live. Zero. And if you continue to carry it, it will be stillborn, and you may have irreparable negative health effects that will make you unable to have children. I don't understand, if her goal is to have children, saying to her, no, we're pro-life. Right. We're not pro-convenience.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't understand it at all.
I don't either.
But she has informed the court that she is, in fact, leaving the state of Texas to get an abortion. And to date, you can't be prosecuted if you do that.
I was just going to ask that. Yeah. When she goes back, can she be interesting?
Nope.
I mean, it's a horrible thing, right? Anybody who's faced with that kind of thing, what a horrible... It's got to be excruciating for her.
Oh, yeah. I've known a few people who have gone through abortions, right? Mm-hmm. Anybody who's seen Fast Times at Ridgemont High knows that there's nothing fun about that. The people that I know who've gone through that have nightmares still. about that experience. I don't think it's a fun thing.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone who's all for it. And the rhetoric is, well, they're just non-Christians and they have no sanctity of life belief and blah blah blah. And I don't know anyone like that.
No, I don't either. Yeah, I don't either. And I know lots of different people with lots of different beliefs because I am the way I am. I think people, from both sides of the fence, shall we say, of any situation, political or otherwise, feel comfortable with me because, I'm pretty neutral in the middle. I'm like Switzerland.
Sure.
And so I don't know anybody who thinks like that.
Yeah. And further, as a middle-aged white man, I think I have no business having an opinion about it one way or the other. Do you know what I mean? No, it's none of my business. If my children came to me and asked for counseling, I would tell them how I feel. I wouldn't tell them what they must do with their body because I'm not God. You know what I mean?
And I wouldn't tell them how I feel. But
if they asked for it.
But I would sure ask them a lot of questions to help them navigate the situation.
Yeah. But if somebody came to me who is one of our kids and said, hey, Dad, I'm in this terrible predicament. What do you think I should do? I would say, I think you need to have a conversation with your partner that helped create this and figure out what the next steps are.
Right.
Because I don't get a vote.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right. I do.
Anyway.
I do.
This went darker than I wanted it to go today.
Well, we could always pull it out by talking about Taylor Swift.
God forbid, though, don't have an opinion about the war in Israel and Gaza, because then you're either anti-Semitic or you're a terrorist.
Well, let me leave you with this, and then we can move on. I suggest that you should ask people about their opinions and then just keep asking them questions about it to try to learn more about the opinion.
Sure.
Who gives a shit what I think?
Right.
I'm interested in your brain and how it works. So I'm going to keep asking you questions till I know more about you and your thoughts.
That's the coach brain in you, right?
Right. Absolutely.
You learned that. That's a learned response.
I've always been that way naturally, which is why coaching came to me really easily.
Yeah.
I've always, when I was 10 years old, I was riding my bike around the neighborhood with a little notepad and pencil interviewing the neighbors.
I totally see that. I totally see that.
Yep, for real.
Yeah.
And I would lie and tell them I had a school project. And I knew that this one neighbor had adopted a bunch of kids. Mm-hmm. Because it was like the United Colors of Benetton at their house.
Sure.
Right? And so I was so curious about it. Like I wanted to know the story. And so I just knocked on the door one day and said, hey, I have this project for school. I'm writing a story about adoption because I thought, I bet they're adopted. Do you mind if I interview you?
And were they adopted?
And she was like, oh, that's so fun. I'm like, I'm Londa. I live around the corner. And yeah.
Still, she thinks she was the subject of a report.
Went in, sat down,
in 1984.
Interviewed them. Not even 1981, maybe.
That's
82.
Awesome. You were 10.
Yeah.
That's great. That's a good story.
And made up the questions right there on the fly.
I wonder what was going on in your head to make you want to do that. I think it's fascinating.
I have always been fascinated by people and their stories.
Me too.
And so, I ask anybody who's spent some time with me. I know a lot about them. If I get them one-on-one, mm-hmm. I generally will learn a lot about people. I think people are fascinating, and everybody has a story. Everybody has a story.
Yeah.
You learned a little bit more about one of your realtor partners over the weekend because you had a couple open houses that you did. And isn't it fascinating?
I love
the
it.
things that you learned.
I love it.
Everybody has a story, and learning more about their story to me has always been captivating. There was an elderly couple in our neighborhood. I went and interviewed them, and because I was writing a paper on seniors. It was a little naughty because I made stuff up.
Do you have any of those notebooks?
I don't.
in existence?
I don't. I wish I did. Wouldn't
Because
that
that'd
be
be
great?
a great story. That weaving that together into a tapestry of the 70s and 80s childhood.
Here's
that you
what's
had.
terrible. I have very few of my. I've been a writer my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
I have kept very little of it.
Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah.
Wah, wah. But, here we are. I love people. I think their stories are fascinating. I love learning about people and hearing. That's why I don't like big parties.
Uh-huh.
I would rather have dinner with one or two other people in my home than go out to a restaurant or go to a party, because I want to learn about the person that's sitting across from me.
That's interesting. And I think growing up watching my mother at parties made me the kind of person I am, because when she went to a party, she'd like hold court.
Right.
And she'd pick a place
You do the same thing.
in the party and have people come to her.
Yeah,
And
I
they'd
don't want
all
that.
exchange stories and tell stories. And she was always in the middle of it. You know what I mean? I love that.
I know you do. I know. I know. Okay. Times Person of the Year.
Yes. Taylor Swift.
My girl.
I loved the thing she put on whatever social media.
Oh, yeah. On her Instagram, Time Magazine. Hey, we'd like to name you Person of the Year. Me. Can I bring my cat?
And she did. She wore a black leotard and brought her cat.
Benjamin.
Yes.
Yep.
That's funny.
Benjamin's very cute.
He's
Very,
a cat.
Very pretty cat.
Fluffy, long hair, gross. Ugh.
Yeah, but there was a lot of, in that photo shoot, a lot of hints about the Reputation Taylor's version. Can't wait for that to drop.
I don't know what any of that means.
Oh, it's all over. It's all over everything she's doing. Anyway, I'm just very excited. I was pleased they named her Person of the Year. I don't think there was anyone else.
You have to name her Person of the Year.
You have to.
Because
This has been the
she
year.
has impacted the economy.
Absolutely.
She has created joy in a dark time. And what I
Yes.
mean by that is, in a time when people are talking recession, she's selling out concerts.
Yep.
Not only in America, but around the globe.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She has done some really interesting things, including taking back her catalog of music.
And that's the most impressive thing to me, taking back what was hers.
Right. You know, the only person I can think of before her who did anything like that was Prince, who legally changed his name to a symbol to get out of a record contract with Sony.
Right.
I mean, crazy.
Yeah.
Who thinks of that?
Yeah. I think it's awesome. I
You know?
love it. I mean, I've had my work stolen and it sucks.
Yeah.
And I didn't recreate it. I guess I could have. I let it go and just moved on to something else, but it does suck.
Right.
And mine wasn't, as vast as her body of work, but it still sucked.
Sure.
And they stole it and they made money on it for years.
Right.
And,
Yeah,
whatever.
I think it's an interesting deal. Plus, she's changed sports marketing. I mean, you cannot see a story about Sunday Night Football that she's not somehow a part of.
I am finally starting to understand a little bit about football because on TikTok, which I love, and Nikki Haley wants to ban.
She does want to ban it. She said that during the Republican national debate.
It brings me so much joy.
Yeah.
Please do not. But anyway,
How am I going to know about alien abductions
your
and
TikTok's
early
very different than mine.
civilizations?
But now I lost my train of thought.
Well, you were talking about how people know more about football because of TikTok and people talking about it.
Because I saw after that first game that she was at, I saw some TikTokers that created content explaining football. Hey, if you're a Taylor Swift fan and now you're interested in football, let me explain this to you. And they started explaining how it works. And I was like, oh my God, I never knew that.
Oh, I gotcha.
Oh, okay. So you get four
gotcha.
tries to get to that line. And then if you get there, you get 4 more tries to get to I never knew any of that.
It's really 3 tries, and then you have to kick it away.
Well, whatever. But even just to know
it's
that
it's 4 downs, yes, for sure.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah.
First down.
I was in the band all through high school,
all I knew
the
was
marching band.
1st and 10, do it again. We like it. We like it. That's all.
Yeah, and I knew great cheers and everything. I didn't really get into football though until I worked for the USL Sports Network as a young man in radio, having to do pregame setups
fancy.
and all that stuff. And then when I got years later to the LSU Sports Network, I knew it by then.
Speaking
you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Didn't they announce the Heisman Trophy winner?
They did. Jaden Daniels from LSU. LSU's third Heisman Trophy winner. Joe Burrow was just seems like yesterday.
I mean,
the one before that was I think in 1954. So
yeah. So it's not.
So that was a long time ago.
That was cool because we've watched him play the last couple of years and it's been fun.
Right.
And incredible.
Yeah, really fun to watch. That kid, his statistics this year, better than anybody else, not by a little, by a lot. Blows him out of the water.
Right.
It's too bad LSU this year is not playing in the national championship game. It's the first time in years that someone who didn't even go to their conference championship is the Heisman Trophy winner, but it's because his individual statistics are crazy.
Incredible.
I watched one game where he ran for 250 yards and threw for 350 yards.
It's wild, right?
What?
Yeah.
So, yeah, really an interesting player, and I got to tell you, really going to be fun to see what happens in the NFL draft.
I never cared much about sports at all until we lived in Lafayette, Louisiana for a year and a half.
Right.
And now I kind of I see the fun in sport. I saw it from a different perspective because they're about it.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
And now I kind of get it. I still follow LSU women's basketball, Kim Mulkey there. They lost a player this week anyway.
I think what did it for you was doing a daily radio show and following the statistics a little bit.
Maybe.
I think that's what did
I went to my first professional football game,
That's
NFL game while we were there.
The New Orleans Saints, who had a good win on Sunday.
I went to, watch the Cajuns play football. That was fun.
My alma mater.
Yep. University of Louisiana at Lafayette.
Correct.
Is that how it's going?
Yep.
And that was an awesome time because we, as luck would have it, first game we go to, before the game, we met the parents of the quarterback.
That's right.
It was just the freakiest happenstance situation. And we met them, and then we had that connection with them
for the entire season.
Whole season. And that was super fun. And that got me excited about it too.
And a friend of ours who you saw at every UL Lafayette game we went to, Mark Mouton, is now the Alumni Association president at UL Lafayette.
Super fun.
So you were really dialed in. You had your finger on the pulse.
Now I see the joy of sports, which I never really saw it before, except, oh my gosh, my daughter Danielle sent me a TikTok. I'm ready to fight Nikki Haley over that.
Over getting
over
rid
the
of
TikTok thing. Yeah. Anyway, she sent me a TikTok about the halftime performance at Dallas Cowboys. They brought back 60 years of didn't bring back, but they did a retrospective of the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders over the last 60 years.
Okay.
And they brought back former
Dallas Cowboy
team
cheerleaders,
members of the cheer team that cheered in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and the 2010s. And each group, like the ones that were there in the 70s, they did a routine, and then the current they did their own thing, and then the current team members joined in, and then then they kind of went back out, and then the girls who cheered in the 80s came out and they did a little routine, and then the current cheerleaders joined in for another one. Okay, why did I cry? And I said, I texted her and said, why did that make me cry? And she said, I think because she cheered in high school just for 1 year. I wish she'd cheered more, but whatever. I think there's a it's kind of like women in business together. Mm-hmm. Like there's such a, I don't know, women supporting women kind of a thing and cheer. Maybe that's it. I don't know, but it made me
cry
very
because
emotional.
you were the cheer captain of your high school. That's what made you cry. It was relatable.
I cheered in high school, and it was some of my favorite memories were made with those girls and doing that, and being involved in that way. Mm-hmm. And so, but what a cool thing. I don't know did you see it? I don't even know when it aired or if it's recent.
All I know is you wear short shorts and I'm on the bleachers.
I think it's short skirts.
I don't know how it works.
She wears short skirts and I'm on the bleachers. Yeah. She's talking about like the popular cheerleader girl.
She's cheer captain and I'm on the bleachers.
Yeah, but she's the band geek.
Right. So. Like me. I wasn't a geek, though. I was a crossover favorite. I was the funny guy in band who played trombone.
Okay.
That was fun.
Yeah.
All right. I don't have any more to add to this.
I think we did it. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. This has been a longer version of our program. 46 minutes and counting.
Well, we needed to pull it out of...
dark. We were in the darkness talking about all the war and all the anti-Semitic comments. I mean, be nice to each other.
Yeah,
that's really all it is, right?
Lead with empathy.
How can you know a person personally and wish them ill? I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me. It doesn't. I don't get it. Love one another. Be nice to one another.
Yeah.
And all these problems will fix themselves.
Agree to disagree. We wish you all the best, though.
We'll be right back here again next week.